All right. Are we live? Pastor, are we live?
You're live.
We're live. I see me. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jerome Wood, son of Pastor James Wood, co-pastor Lisa Wood of Golden Harvest Church, located in North Vernon, Indiana. We're coming to you today, our monthly Young Men's Buzz Hour. This Saturday, it is myself and my bro, Seth Caffey, that will be holding it down for you guys today. We have a great topic to bring to you guys today. We'll be talking about role models, what it means to be a role model, how important being a role model is in society today, and especially as fathers. I think we're having a great discussion. So first, let me once again introduce Seth Caffey. Go ahead and tell the millions and millions of people out there in Facebook land who you are, a little bit about you, and then we'll go into...
So you went from the rock to the...
Millions and millions of Jesus fans. But no, go ahead. So, yeah.
I'm Seth Caffey. I've been working with at-risk youth now for 10 years. And also I'm a volunteer boxing coach at Columbus Proud Boxing. So that's who I am.
All right, that was a little bit shorter than what I was expecting. Yeah, I was trying to share it on my page. I figured you would talk for at least 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. 10 minutes?
It happens. We're going to keep it going. So like I said, we're going to be talking about role models. So what it means to be a role model, how that plays an important role in society today. We are also social distancing. We are about...
Definitely
not 6 feet, but I got my mask just in case. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the questions. These questions were wrote by none other than evangelist Lisa Wood. She came up with these wonderful questions that she does every week. Definitely a great woman of God. So we'll go into the first question. Seth.
Yeah. Make us all Family Feud.
I know, right?
I'm so excited.
Seth. No.
I'm the only one out here with a buzzer.
That means you win. By default. First question. Who are role models?
The perception of role model is very complex, but also at the same time in our minds, I think in everybody's minds, the word role model is somebody that anybody, not just a young person or an adult, can look up to, but it's anybody who could have an impact and hopefully a positive impact. Mm-hmm. If we're not careful, young people or even adults will have role models who set bad examples. So it's anybody who has a massive impact on somebody, and I think the masses, hopefully, are searching for somebody who has that positive impact.
No, I 100% agree. I would give an answer to that, but I feel like you did an amazing job, sir. Woo, it's rolling. Great. Top 5 answers.
Need next time a ball cap and a big mustache. Steve Harvey.
Get a suit on. Sweatsuit. Next question. And I'll jump in on this one with you. What qualities should a good role model possess?
Oh, man. Positive impact. I would say an influence of faith. Positive, for sure, an influence of faith. And someone who, I guess, leads by example is probably one of the best things I could come by. We always have, everybody has like family members or friends who, growing up, we've always heard that do as I say, not as I do type thing. Yeah. And I feel like, that is effective, but not necessarily as much as somebody watching somebody do it, we was talking about before the camera got going, like I've lost 20 pounds since quarantine. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Slimming.
But I'm trying to get it down. But one thing that really hit my mind after I saw a picture of me being rather largely, kind of large, was that my oldest son's going to start hitting the boxing gym with me coming in January, and I want him to be inspired and not necessarily watch me, not do the things I expect from him. So. Yeah. I understand when people say do as I say, not as I do, but people who lead by example, you walking in those footsteps, those footsteps are bigger, to follow those footsteps.
So basically you didn't want him to be large like yourself.
Yeah, was large.
Oh shoot, I had to throw that in there, but you getting slim, bro. You down 20 pounds.
Appreciate it, you know.
Trying persistent, bro.
Trying to. The biggest battles, you know, the diet. So.
Oh man, I was eating candy. Anyway, so but yeah, as far as what qualities, man, I feel like I agree with you on a lot of those, man. Being a positive person, I feel like that's a big quality. I feel like also being understanding and being human and understanding that you're not going to be perfect.
Yes.
Because I feel like as a role model, you have to show. You said candy.
Yeah.
I can't be perfect, man. I can't be Trayvon. But I feel like you have to understand that, you know, even though you're a good role model, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna you're gonna be good. There's gonna be good times, gonna be bad times. But in the midst of that, you stay true to who you are.
Yeah.
Stay in your path wherever it is you're going. But that just understanding that perfection is not gonna come along with it. Because I feel like, you know, whoever's looking up to you, they need to see that. They need to see that it's not always glitter and gold. Right. There's dirt that comes in between, so that they know that things are going to happen.
Hey,
go ahead.
If we're not in the valley, we don't understand what it feels like to be on top of the mountain.
Watch out.
Moving in there, watch out now. That fake crossover.
Anything else coming, didn't you? Dad gonna tell you to preach Sunday. You keep messing around. I'll be there. Next question. Why are role models needed in a family?
Oh man, so because that's where the foundation starts.
True.
That's where the foundation starts. So typically, as a coach, even as a coach, I'm not gonna say no names, and honestly, I'm not gonna use any examples. But I'm just saying, as a coach, we see those kids who come in and don't have that foundation of that leadership, that example, that role model from the beginning, adolescent stage.
Yeah.
There's that old saying that unteachable kids become unemployable adults. Mm-hmm. And I fully believe in that. So that's why I think it's very important, because if that kid don't have that positive role model, not necessarily just in the family, but also in that household, that's where you see a lot of those kids struggle, you know. Then they become 16 years old, and at that age, we're already rebellious anyway, because we think we've grown, but we're really not mature there. You know, our mind is not developed as much as our body has. So if we don't have that at that young age, by the time we hit, you know, those young rebellious teenage years, it's even worse.
Oh yeah, man. I feel like it's important because what's in you is going to come out of you. So I feel like if you're in an environment constantly at home where you don't have that positive role model, where you don't have somebody that's constantly instilling you positive reinforcement, whatever it may be, eventually all that's going to come out. Like if I look at like how I was brought up, like I know my dad, like I had the perfect role model to me in my knowledge, because it was just I had that. I had the dad every day. Like I had what a lot of kids probably miss, but I looked at it as a young kid, I probably didn't appreciate it, because I was like, man, my dad's so strict, my dad does this. But now I look at it, I know I had the perfect role model. I had the perfect role model because I am that now.
Right.
Like when I manage and deal with my kids, my wife always says, "Jerome, you sound just like your dad." And I know I do, and I catch myself like, man, I'm fussing just like my dad. But I understand now as you get older and the things I experience, whether it's in college, life after college, I experienced so many things that my dad tried to prevent me from running into.
Right.
That's because he went through that. And of course, you know, as a teenager, as a young adult, you're only going to listen to some extent.
Yes.
Like my life, if I would listen to every single thing my dad said, I'd probably be an admiral in the military. But I still took my own little, you know, you take your own path, but I never lost sight of the key principles he taught me. I mean, I listened to everything, but there were key things like being a dad, being responsible, taking care of responsibilities, like things like that. I feel like having that role model in the family kind of helped me.
Oh, facts, man. There are a lot of facts, as the kids would say these days.
These facts.
You know, I completely agree and concur with that. And
concur.
You know, I'm telling you, I came ready today. So watch out.
Talking shit,
but you know, as a child, so people who don't know my backstory, I was born into a poverty family, and that's just what it is. Daddy was a disabled war veteran, and he was actually kind of older when I was born. I'm actually number 5 of 7, and I used to regret. I don't want to say regret. I guess I was kind of jealous of some of the dads that the other kids had, right? Because my dad wasn't physically able to even teach me how to throw a baseball, shoot a basketball, throw a football, those things. But as I got older and I became a teenager and I became a young adult, a young man, I realized that God put in place not the father that I wanted, but the father that I needed.
Yeah, facts.
And I didn't get, you know, Like kid, hey boy, let's go out here and let's throw the ball around. I never got that, but what I did get is I got life stories. I got principles. You know, I got that foundation that we've talked about.
I feel like that's what's important. Like even though like my dad was the one that was out there hooping until the knees got bad.
Yeah.
My dad still got a bank shot that probably nobody can block, but it was even despite that, it was still when you watched him on the court. He was never the one argumentative. Even when the young dudes getting fighting, he kind of laughed, "Come on, fellas." Right. But it was like that mentality and that type of thing was the foundation. When you look at me now, I'm that same person. If somebody does that, I'm the guy like, "Come on, let's just."
So with some of the at-risk youth I work with, I've always said for I've been there for 9.5 years. And, one thing I've always said is energy and spirit is infectious and contagious. So if you're around a negative spirit or negative energy, man, you're gonna wonder why your life is so miserable. And right there it is.
You gotta keep you hang around, man.
Yeah, you gotta keep that energy, and that goes from here all the way up until you're in the dirt. So
small circle.
Bang bang,
bang bang. All right, next question, man. Do you believe role modeling makes you a better person?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of already touched on that. We flash back to the whole, I see that picture my buddy took of me, and I'm like, boom! I'm like kind of blowing out the bottom of the t-shirt. I'm like, whoa! Didn't think that was going to happen. In my younger 20s, I was always like, I'm going to be that boom. I'm going to be that dad. I'm going to be that fit dad. And then 10 years later, and I'm like, that didn't happen. The bottom of the t-shirt blew out. Looked like an umbrella popped open. But yeah, I touched on that, like, me thinking about my kids, and then when quarantine started, opening up, the state kind of opened up, and we opened the boxing gym back up. We were limited on space and how many trainees we could have, how many boxers we could have in the gym. And so at the very beginning, we was only allowed to have 6. You talk about training 6 kids for 2 hours. I mean, a lot of the kids that were coming were already experienced. I just had to tell them what to do, small critiques, and at that point, I'm just cleaning. So I started thinking like, man, I'm gonna have my son in here in January. I'm kind of big right now. It will probably benefit them to watch me work out, get them back inspired to be hitting the bags and stuff like that. And then, teach my son work ethic as well. So I mean, being a role model, whether it's, physical, mental or physical or even spiritual health, all that, I wouldn't have known about the blessings of God without my father, and so, he gave me those teachings even on his deathbed when the man had 2-3 weeks to live, and I'm having bad days at work, and he's sitting there, struggling through the valley, and he looking at me like, why are you so stressed out right now? I've received more blessings in this bed than I've had my entire life.
True.
Like, it's always going to be there, and so if you don't, it goes that old saying that pressure creates diamonds or dirt. Yeah. That pressure is very, very precious.
Oh yeah.
Because if you don't feel the pressure to be a good father, a good role model, good uncle, I don't know what's going on here or here.
I feel like that's what like if you look at like the prison system, the jail system, I feel like a lot of guys that are incarcerated right now are missing that key element. Like a lot of them have kids, a lot of them have younger siblings that want to look up to them, but I feel like there's a disconnect where they don't understand and feel the urgency, like you said, that pressure that somebody's looking up to you. Like one of my biggest role models is my brother, and I'll always say that. I'll always say that. Even with him being locked up, I still look up to him because I know what he could be and I know what he will be. So I'll never not look up to him, and I want to say that I'll look up to him to put more pressure on him. Yeah. He'll always say, "Little bro, look up to you, man. Like, you the councilman, you the councilman, so I'm gonna look up to you." Like, no, I'm always gonna look up to you, and I'm gonna let you know that. Right. So therefore, when you come out, because he'll be out soon too. So when he comes out, it's like, no, you're home now.
That pressure,
You're home now, but the councilman's still looking up to you. I don't care if you've been locked up. I don't care if you got these felonies. I don't care none of that. You are a role model, and you have to understand that. But I feel like that's also a job of society to make sure that we're still putting that pressure on those guys when they're getting out of jail, getting out of those situations. Because I feel like that's something missing in males in general. That's why you have so many homes that fathers aren't in that home. Because whether they never got that when they were younger. Like I said, like some of them didn't grow up with fathers, so they never got that pressure. They never felt that. And then when they got it, they didn't know how to handle that. It just kind of
makes it so. When I start talking about my father, and I think that's honestly, that's the whole premise and thing we're working on right now. That's one of the things that I openly spoke about to my wife when my father was passing. When he was struggling, and then after he passed and I was grieving, it's one of the biggest struggles I had because I know the impact of that. And we spoke on about how when we become teenagers, we become rebellious because our minds are not as matured as our bodies are. But it takes a village, so it does take a village. So the moment we hit that, we still got to have those positive, that pressure on society. Is like not just to be a good father, but to be a good uncle, good grandfather, a good person, just for them young people. And that's what made me nervous, man, about after he left because in my family we've lost a lot of males. We've lost a lot of males, and both of my boys don't have their grandfathers now. And it made me really, really nervous and like hurt me to my core. Because I know there's going to be a time to where when they become young men that at some point they're not going to want to hear my advice because I'm just dad. Yeah. They're going to need to hear it from somebody else who's invested. Sure. Whether it's an uncle, a grandfather, a coach, something like that. So, man, I agree with you.
I like that because you brought in different factors. It's not just the influence that you're going to get in your home. You get that same influence whether it's on the basketball court, in the boxing gym.
My dad used to tell
me stuff. In jail, you never know what guard can speak life.
I didn't bring it up. You brought it up. You said you brought it up. That's a pressure. That's the problem with a lot of our homes now because there's a missing father figure, and then once they get out, that disconnect happens even further if they even hit the incarceration.
And it takes somebody like if I look at my dad for an example. Like my dad's father wasn't in the home, but you would never know that if you looked at my dad. Because you were looking at my dad, like, man, you had to have, based off of how you operate, how hard you work, how good of a father you are, you clearly had that father role model that did that. No, you just had a role model that was in your home that instilled that into you. So that's why, like, when the earlier question we touched on was how important is a role model in the family. I don't want it to take it to where it just has to be a father role model, but it has to be a role model in that home. No, there's a lot of homes, especially in the African American community, where it's just a single mom. Period. But that single mom is acting as mom and dad. And a lot of them are kicking butt and doing an extraordinary job. But, that's, neither here nor there. I just want to touch on that. Shout out to you moms out there. Next one. What is one lesson you want your children to learn from you as their role model?
Man, I might, I guess, I ruffle people's feathers when I make this statement because I don't know, it's just how my perception is, and a lot of people aren't the same, man, and that perception is that to value people more than you value things, and some people come from such bad, I won't say bad, some people just come from less fortunate environments and less fortunate households that they put such a focus on making sure that their life is better, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want my kids to have a way better life than I ever did, and I think so far I've done that. And that's not a shout out to my mom or my father about what we had as a kid, but there were just certain resources that we didn't have. So, but my mom, when you talk about single mom, mom wasn't a single mom, but my mom was the one who provided everything for the household. She just worked third shift, second shift. She's worked in the same factory for 30 years providing. But with me, it's I hope my kids value people more than they value objects or materialistic things in this world, because those things they can't go to the grave with you, and that's not a legacy you want to have. And, the legacy you have is how many people you impact by the time you're gone. So that's what I hope my
you can't take all the nice things with you.
No, at all.
Your house, your cars, your keys, they're gonna go to somebody
Believe
else.
it.
Oh yeah, facts. No, I agree 100,000% with you. But that's been how I've been raised. Like I never looked at it as my family was rich, we weren't poor, but everything that was needed was there. Like I'd see my friends on Christmas and holiday stuff get all this. I'm still this way. My wife don't get it. None of that. And for some, it's just never bothered me. Like I was never the kid that looked at somebody else's situation and was like, man, that's not fair. Why can't I have that? Why don't my parents? Because everything I needed, whether it was clothes, shoes, whether every sport, even like I always had that. Right. So if I could teach my kids anything, it is to value people more than that. But even more than that is just to be appreciative of what you have.
Right.
So if that's one thing I always tell my kid, like my wife for my birthday, what do you want to do for your birthday? Let's go get something to eat and go home. Why don't you ever want to do much? I'm like, bro, I don't care. Like, I don't need things like that. Tell my people that I love, my friends come around, let's go have a good evening and let's go home. Right. That's it. That's always been me. Same thing with Christmas. I don't care what it is because the things don't matter to me. Like the name brand, I still don't shop name brand. Like Nike, this is on discount, clearance rack, $35. Like that's
$6 Walmart shirt right here. I make it look good. You know,
come on, it's Walmart. Like, that's my spot. My wife always looks at me, where you get Walmart, the whole sweatsuit, $15. But that's just because my mentality, and that's what I have to and I want to instill in my kids is like, don't let somebody else's perception of you change your perception of yourself. Yeah. Like you are who you are. You have to accept that and dwell on that. Because when you can accept who you are, the world realizes that. People gravitate to that. Like people always say, "Drum you leader." What is it that you? I'm just me. I'm literally me from morning to night. But that's what my dad and my mom, my role models, always instilled in me. So I don't know. I feel like that was
really good. That felt good, didn't it? Next question.
Oh man, let me get to the next question. It is, Sister Lisa wrote so many questions. We ain't gonna get to all of them. She done put a note, so you will not get to all these questions.
She put them in there already.
Oh man, I don't like that one. No, we're gonna save that one. All right, boom. How important do you think it is to be a role model outside of your home, outside of around your kids?
Man, I think this conversation has been beautiful so far because we touching on stuff that we've already hit on. Yeah. So, future, it's that's how big it's been. Man, I've already spoke on that. So, just to a little backstory. Man, we've done this on the previous video I was a part of. Man, if it wasn't for people. We're talking about the home right now. Now we're going to touch on that village, that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, man, because I fully believe in that. If it wasn't for me, shout out to Deacon Ron or Coach Ron Thompson. He just had a big birthday on last Friday, big 70. Can't believe I've been around that long. It makes me feel old. But if it wasn't for people like him, Coach Ron Taylor, or even other people, me leaving the home, leaving the house throughout the evening, throughout the day, on the weekends, throughout the week, and going to somebody else, and then them same people, like new people, not my mom, not my father, but checking on me like, hey, what you doing? How's your grades look? Why you eating candy? Stuff like that. Yeah. If they weren't invested, man, like you got to constantly hear that same message from different people. But I tell people all the time, man, your words have to have value for them to make change. Mm-hmm. So there's an old saying that we use at work. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. Yeah. And man, that's the truth. And that's the reason. So, like, after I stopped fighting and I stopped being an active, competitor, I couldn't just leave the boxing gym. And like a lot of cats do that, and that's cool. That's not their lane, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. But 90% of the people I grew up with, man, in my neighborhood that was my age are either dead, addicts, or in jail. Fact. Like, there's not too many of them out there that are living okay. I'm not even gonna say successful. Yeah. Living okay. And I credit that to the people outside my household as much as to the ones that are in there, because I was constantly. My mom talks about it. We did a birthday video for Coach Ron last week. She said that she felt 100% comfortable that she knew her kids were going to another person who had all the qualities she wanted her kids to have. Mm-hmm. And that's why when I was like, all right, I'm about to have my own family, but I just can't leave, like, because I realized the impact. And so I'm in that same gym still, coaching, because I know that those kids need somebody to come to outside of their house and have that impact.
Now, do you feel, and I'll just piggyback, so do you feel, because I feel like with your work, whether it's at work every day in the gym, like you're accomplishing that on a daily basis. Like, do you feel that way?
Not on a daily basis. I'd be lying, because there's days that we struggle. Yeah. We're not going to. You talk about we make mistakes. Well, other people make mistakes as well. Mm-hmm. Understanding that some people just aren't going to get up the first try. Mm-hmm. Use the old saying. You lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah. Well, also, you take somebody who's done the same thing for 16, 17 years, and you think you're going to tell them once they're going to do it. No, they're not. They're gonna do what is natural, what is a norm to them in their household, what they grew up on foundation, and then they're gonna make that move. Until you can install something. That's why I said your words gotta have value when you speak to people. If your words do not have value, you will not make changes in them as a role model. So that's when that relationship comes forth. That's when that rapport is there. If that rapport and that relationship's not there, you're not going to make change. So you got to understand that some days you're not going to do it. You're not going to have that change. Every day is not like, yes, we did it today. We changed the kid or we changed an adult. It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
No,
today, those are days you go home and you stress and you talk to your wife, you call your mom, you call your best friend. Say, hey man, today was rough. So it's not all the time.
But do you feel that every day you, as far as you being a role model, you feel like you did your part?
Yeah, I have to.
Okay.
That goes back to that pressure.
Yeah.
Goes back to that pressure of, and there's been days where I haven't, and it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have did better today. Like, for example, if I'm at the boxing gym and there's a kid that I don't speak with enough, just speaking with.
Yeah.
Not necessarily I'm not doing a role model. Have I checked in with that kid enough to see how they're doing? Did I give them enough affirmation and tell them that they're working hard to keep that work ethic up? If I saw a kid who was struggling or crying at work, did I talk to them and pull them to the side? It's the same exact thing. So you have to. And if not, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, if I just kind of happened to fall into social work 10 years ago. I didn't plan on doing it, but when I fell into it, I fell in love with it at the same time. I would, economically, financially, I would be way, way further in my life financially if I didn't go that route. But spiritually, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I'd be dead if I wasn't putting work into people.
I feel like I was reading a book on success, and it said a lot of people deem success as money and fame. But they said if you ask a successful person, it's finding out the one thing that you can do every day and love, whether you get paid for it or not. So like when you can find that and love what you do, find your purpose and your passion, that's when you become successful. Man. So I feel like you touched on, you said like you went into social work and it wasn't something where financially it hasn't put you to the point where some people would deem successful. But if I had to sit back and look at just how you are as a person and the impact you're having on so many different kids, because you got to think you've been at Atterbury for how many years?
Almost 10.
10 years. So you got to think of how many kids have funneled in that program for over 10 years that have got to either look at you, talk to you, speak to you, watch how you walk, watch how you talk. Because I worked at Atterbury, so I already know for a fact that day one, when kids come in there, they're looking up to you automatically. You're automatically like, man, even if they don't show it to you, and I know you know examples of that, where even if they don't express to you that you are a role model, you know for a fact that that kid, no matter what, whether he's from East Chicago, or he's from St. Louis, or he's from Indy, no matter his background, his ethnicity, whatever it is, he's looking up to you. He may be rough, and he may not show you that. You know, you may have to break through that. But the fact that you have a job where you can do it on a daily basis, I feel like that is what success is, in my opinion.
And, life is full circle sometimes, man. I kind of thought, as I became an adult, I thought about what kept me from being where my other peers were. And it was that. And so, like, when I kind of fell into that, those kids come in looking for somebody who's going to be consistent.
Yes. Because they don't have that at home.
They're used to people in and out.
Yeah. Like little kids that say, like, Dad, I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to pick you up Friday. And then Friday come around, and mom got to say, well, something came up. Like, I watch a lot of movies with my wife and things, and it'll be that same situation, that same story.
Right.
And when you see the kids standing there with a backpack on.
Yeah.
And be like, man, where's my dad? And then you don't show up. So, like, you touched on that consistency. To have that person in your life that says, hey, man, tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I'm coming to your dorm to check on you. Then when 8 o'clock rolls around and you're there, it's kind of like, oh, shoot, he cares about me. Just like you said earlier, you don't care. What you say? I forget the...
They don't care how much you know until they know that you care.
So once they see that, and I worked at Atterbury. Once them kids, and someone rough, but once they know you care, it's almost like his shoulders will finally come down. He's like, all right, look.
Oh man, you get the toughest kid in the toughest kid in the building trying to act goofy.
Yeah.
Act like a little 8-year-old.
Yeah.
But you get your heart gets paid. Your heart gets full off that stuff because when you hear them when they contact you after 2 years, oh man, how you been? Oh, thank you. Or for example, in the boxing gym, I had a young man who when we first got him, Johnny, I don't know if he'll watch this. I hope he does because he's a great kid. He comes from a great family. When we first got him, he was a short little tubby kid. And now he got washboard abs. Senior in high school at Columbus North. And I'm like, man, I've watched this kid grow up to a young man. And he contacted me. His mother contacted me. Hey, can we do senior pictures? Yeah, it would look, if y'all want to do senior pictures in the gym, that's awesome. That lets me know how much boxing has meant to him. And then I get asked to be a part of the photos, and I wasn't expecting that. That will be something I'll be a part of that kid's life forever. Like, those moments frozen in time. And that, like, I wasn't. I would have brought better gym clothes if I realized I was going to be a part of the photos. I thought I was just there. I was like, hey, you guys have 2 hours, do whatever you got to do. Hey, coach, you going to get in the ring? Huh? Yeah. It's cool. So,
but that shows the impact.
So your heart gets filled, your spirit gets filled, you know what I mean?
So, but to kind of touch on that question and kind of wrap it up, and then we got one more thing before we end. I think we got a little bit more time. We'll stretch it out. I think the phone ain't going down.
Hey. We were rolling last
But no, so as far as like the impact, I just feel like that's, even though you're an impact inside the home, I feel like if you're a role model outside of the home, it carries over into the house. But I feel like, just like you said, it takes a village, because there's so many young people, especially young men, that just won't have that role model at home.
Yeah.
So if you have the opportunity, whether it's, I've done a coach at the Boys and Girls Club, I worked at a juvenile center, I worked at a treatment facility, I worked at Atterbury. Now I'm a city councilman. It's like, I feel like everything that I want to do has a direct path to the youth. Yeah. And the only reason I want to be in there is to be that guy that they can look at and be like, man, he's cool, I can be like him. Yeah. Like, that's it. Like, when I ran for city council, I thought it was an awesome thing, because now there are black kids around the community, or even just kids that don't look like everybody else, that can say, I can be the first guy to do something that nobody else did. So the fact that, and that's one of the deepest things, that's, like, when I got done, I told my wife about it, I'm like, that's probably one of the coolest things about being on city council or being elected, was the fact that there's somebody that's younger than me, whether it's my kids, like my daughter, if you ask what her name is, she said, my name is Juliana Brielle Wood, city council. And it's funny to me, but that's stuff that'll stick.
I won't be surprised, just a bit.
I won't, but it's the thing that sticks. Like my son, the hoodie he got of mine, he'll wear it every day if he can. I love this hoodie, Dad, because you're the city councilman. But it's like, that's the type of impact that I want to leave. Like I said, I don't care about the clothes, the things. I don't need to be famous. I want to be famous. I want to be an actor. I could have been an actor. I'm telling y'all. I'm telling y'all it's bad. But it wasn't, one, I don't think that was my calling. But this is so fulfilling for me. Man. It's like, that is, like, being a role model, that's what I think is missing, man. I'm sorry to be kind of not really sporadic, but that's what I think is missing with a lot of these guys that are in the prison. A lot of these guys that are just not in the homes. It's not understanding and not really feeling that fulfillment. Like you said, it fills your heart up. That hasn't clicked in. Because I feel like if that really clicks in, because I look at a lot of guys, there's guys that I'm not going to name them, but there's guys that have gotten out of prison, and one, it's God. I'm not going to go from the first thing you need. You need God in your life in order for a lot of people to change. A lot of guys that have also changed and stayed consistent outside, they found a reason. A lot of the reason has been a kid. They've had a why. Like, now I have somebody that I have to provide for, that I have to do better for. And a lot of those guys that I see out for years and years, I'm like, man, what you doing, man? Hey, my kid, man. Anything I can do to make that kid smile, I'm going to do. But it's like, you found your purpose and you're being a role model. That's why I think it's, and I know we're talking about outside the home, but like I said, if you're a role model in the home, outside the home, you're making an impact. And I feel like that's just...
Man, I can go back to my childhood, man. And, like, there was a time I didn't even have friends growing up. Like, that changed. I'll have to go back. There was a time I didn't have friends. And I had an uncle that lived on the other street. I had a legit uncle who was he's probably like 10 years older than I am. So when I'm like 9 years old, 10 years old, probably 10, he's probably like 21. Man, I didn't have a friend. And so when he moved in, like on the other street, I would ride my bike down to his house. Because I didn't have anybody to hang out with. Ride my bike, go down there, and I would hang out with him on Saturday mornings, man. Saturday mornings. As a young adult, and he lives in Alabama, and it tears my heart apart for him being so far but I know that's where his happiness is at. And when you love somebody, you want them to be happy. But he's down there, he's involved in church, he got a beautiful wife, they love people, they invite people all the time. We was just down there, and I know what he did for me, and I know how much my boys love him. And so, like, that never leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't have that person, if you don't have someone to constantly, and it doesn't change, it doesn't change. You always look for somebody. You become an adult, you get a job, you get a career. You even have that mentor at work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It never changes.
Somebody's always watching you, whether you believe it or not. And that, I keep tying it back, but somebody's always, so whether you're at the boxing gym, whether you're at the Atterbury job corps, whether you're sitting in city council, whether you're a pastor, whether you are just a regular person working at Walmart, I don't care where you are, what you're doing. There's always somebody that's looking up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if society clicked in on that, and a lot of men, and I always talk to the men because they're just missing, that clicked on and understood, there's always someone watching you, especially for fathers. If you're a father, you have to understand there's somebody that is looking at whether you are in, and understand whether you see your kid every day,
right,
whether you don't see your kid for years, months, whatever it is, that kid is always looking up to you. Like, you'll hear a lot of celebrities talk like, man, like LeBron said, father's never his life. Like, but I always wanted to be up. I always looked up to him because whoever he was, I just want to be better than who he was because I knew he wasn't here.
right.
So your lack of presence
It's still
you were still my role model because you wasn't even here. But that's why I think it's so important, and especially for my parents and ministers, to kind of push that understanding that whether you don't have that father and mother in your life,
right.
but if you can put God in your life, that can kind of replace the role model that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have a role model and you just so happen to make God your role model, I mean, there's not a better role model that you can have.
There's not.
So I feel like that's why, like, this topic as far as role models is so important because it touches on every aspect of life.
I get people who get upset with me, and I hate that. But hard conversations is what births growth.
True.
And I get people who get upset with me because when they start making complaints about things, whether it's in the community, throughout the world, in the country, whatever, my first question for them, my first response is, what are you doing for your community? And they get upset because they don't have a response.
Oh, no.
And I understand the whole, like, my child is my number one priority, and that's good, but what are you doing also beyond that? Like, what are you doing that's beyond that one thing? You know what I mean? If being a good father, and if that's all you can do, that's fine. But if you have the capabilities to do more, if you know a kid who don't have a father, if you know a kid who isn't involved in anything positive, if you know a kid who has bad grades, what are you doing to assist?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe are you putting them on the path to find one?
Yeah.
If you can't do it,
True.
what are you doing for your community?
Oh yeah. People don't like to put the pressure back on them. They'll sit and complain, just like people who don't vote.
I did today. Oh, my first time too. Oh, buddy.
Every vote counts. But no, it's but like you said, man, it's people don't like to put that pressure on them.
Right.
So like the reason I tied in the voting thing, people sit and complain about politics. I don't want this guy in office. I want this to change. I want this to change. Well, go vote. Man, I ain't voting, man. My vote don't matter. Then shut up. Like, shut up. If you're not gonna go vote or do nothing about it, man, stop. Sit down. Right. But it's also the same thing. If you want to sit there and talk about how
change.
society's this,
you want
society's this, you want this, then you ask questions of what are you doing in your community? What are you doing to make a difference with this? Well, I got this. But like, what are you really doing?
Yeah. So like, one thing I absolutely hate is drugs. Drugs destroyed a lot of my family.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the biggest demon my family as a whole has battled.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought about it, man. I'm like, man, like, how come I never went down that road?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I wanted to, but
yeah.
what was the
what
thing?
prevented you?
And it was those role models, man. It was those guys like talking about my uncle, or it was my best friend who was, to me, is like the ideal, like most genuine person I've ever met in my life. Is he perfect? No, but soul wise, I don't want anybody better. Was it my uncle? Was it the boxing coaches? It was those are the impact. Those are the small things in that sequence or that math equation that you could substitute in and out, and that's what makes a difference. And so, like, I don't want kids to go to when kids idle time is the devil's time.
Oh, big time.
And so, if kids are busy, if kids have structure, and they have role models, they're not going to go down that path.
Oh no, I think that was good, man. Because idle time is huge, man.
I didn't have it.
Yeah.
I just didn't have it.
Yeah.
And the days I did have all the time, my dad was like, "Hey, you want to make some money? Let's go out here and let's go cut a tree down and chop a wood and sell it." Mm-hmm. It was always something. I wasn't allowed just to sit around. And those days are the days I was like completely bored, and I was probably doing something stupid. Mm-hmm. But if I had structure, okay, I'm doing this today. I'm doing this at this time.
Like you said, man, there's a reason why you felt. There's a reason why you didn't go down a path that you've seen so many people where it's. And we've got friends that have passed off of drugs. We know people that are locked up. You know, we just know how powerful it is. But there's a reason why you didn't go that way. So you had a lot of role models, but you also gotta. And I know you'll attest to that. But you have to know that God had another reason why to prevent you from going that way.
Yeah.
I feel like some people have to go that route.
Yeah.
Because their story is going to be impacting more people. So I'll bring my brother for example. I feel like he's going his route because when he finally clicks in, he's going to change the world. I'll tell him this when we talk on the phone.
Oh, his testimony's going to be crazy.
But because you impact more people, but you had to go your route.
And he's got it.
Because we'll talk.
He's got the juice.
We'll
what
talk
the kids
all day,
say.
and I'll talk to my wife, and we'll look at it. The juice.
The juice.
Kids
still say that.
He's got the juice.
Or is that just our youth?
No. The juice.
It still say?
You got the juice now.
Oh, my man.
But no, I really look at it where it's, because I'll talk to my wife and we'll have conversations like, man, because we'll talk about your upbringing and the role models you had.
Yeah.
And why, because sometimes you look at the side and say, people will end up this way because of how they were brought up.
Right.
If you look at my house, yeah, the mom and the dad that have been ministers since, well, I was born in 88, October 18th. They were ministers prior to that.
Right.
They were ministers prior to June 29th, 1983, when my brother was born. So our whole lives has been brought up with two parents at home, never cussed, never drank, never smoked. If they did argue, they must have argued in text because we never heard it. Like my dad was home we grew up in this. We grew up in this structure, so it's you know what to do, you know what not to do.
Arguing emails, so we even had texting back then.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Didn't
saying?
have. Let me talk to you today.
Like, ooh, the dish is in the sink. But despite all that, his path went a totally different direction than my sister and myself. Mm-hmm. So I look at it, it's like, why did your path, just like you said, why did I not go this path? I feel like that is what's going to shape the impact that you have. Like, I honestly feel like when he finally gets out and finally figures it out, the type of role model he's going to be, it's like, I look at myself as a role model. But what I look at him, he'll change the world just because he has the world experience, a life experience.
Right.
He's going to be the type of person that these kids that think it's cool to do drugs, it's cool to get locked up, it's cool to be this tough guy. It's not cool. When you spent 17 years off and on of your life locked up in prison, that's not cool. When you don't have freedom every day, that's not cool. But I feel like that's why he had to go that route and why, like you said, why didn't I end up on drugs? I look at myself. Man, I put myself in so many dumb situations in college, while drinking and driving, whatever it may be. Never gotten a DUI, never gotten a wreck, never, so many times, just never, it happened to all my friends, never happened to me. Just never. I've never been in handcuffs in my life. In my life. Right. The one time I could have got trouble, cops said, just walk home. Like, I've never been in a situation where it's like, but then there's a reason. Right. There's a reason why that you're in your shoes, but there's also a reason why, like you said, you didn't go that path.
Well, I'm just going to, real quick before we move on to the next subject, or if we're going to stay here, that's fine. So I took a class, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was for managing aggressive behaviors, pretty much working with aggressive youth. And something that really stuck in my mind when I took that class was there's a difference between natural consequences and logical consequences. And you know, the natural consequences, the best example is if there's a hot stove. If there's a hot stove and you touch it, guess what? I bet you never touch a hot stove again. Yeah. You know, you 3 years old, 4 years old, you bump something hot, woo! Never happens again because that hurt. Yeah. That hurt. And the logical consequence is where somebody has the same behavior as the other person, but you may get a worse consequence based on your past behavior than the next person. Mm-hmm. For example, you and I get pulled over for speeding. I've got a really bad history of speeding. This is the first time you've been pulled over for speeding. Mm-hmm. What probably happens? You probably, hey, Mr. Wood, will you slow down for me? Me? I'm probably going to get my license suspended. That's logical consequences. Mm-hmm. And some people can relate, listen, and change the behavior off logical. Just like, okay, I need to stop. And then some people who just have to take that hard path and learn off that natural, that hot stove. They're not going to learn until they get burned. And
some people gotta get burned separate. Some people gotta get burned.
Some people
gotta put their hand on it, other hand.
Hey, some of y'all here just in gloves, man.
Yeah, but some people. But I feel like those are the people that have big callings in life. Like I feel like there's a reason why you have to go through so much to reach that.
You know, hearing it from somebody who's been in those trenches compared to somebody who's never did it is something completely different.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know, hearing that experience and understanding what they went through is completely
like I'm
different.
a crim major, so I can talk to kids all day about why they shouldn't go to prison, why the prison system is this, how hard it could possibly be.
Right.
But for you to be someone who has sat in that cell, in that dorm for years, and understanding understanding you have no freedom, your story, your interpretation of that is going to be totally different.
So there's so we'll take it right back to coaching. There's coaches like basketball coaches who have never coached. I mean, never played basketball, and they're good coaches. They're
phenomenal coaches.
But guess what?
Yeah.
You get somebody who played that game and played it at an elite level, or you really listen.
Oh, yeah.
If Kobe Bryant was out here speaking right now, God rest his soul, if Kobe Bryant was out here speaking right now, LeBron James came to town. I didn't make a basketball team. I got cut in the last cut when I was in 5th grade. It hurt. Cut me deep.
Never went back.
Never went back. Went right to the back. Right to
he
the
got
box.
so bad he saw a fight. No basketball.
If LeBron James came to Columbus, Indiana, we both went to East High School to do a speech to kids, and I'm up there talking about basketball, and LeBron James up there talking about basketball. Who do you think they're going to listen to?
He automatically he's going to garner their respect.
Man.
Immediately.
Because he's been through it. He's done it. He's been there. So the same exact people who are, that's what I talked about earlier. Remember what I said?
Yeah.
You don't cherish the mountaintop unless you've been in that valley.
Yeah.
The more you've been in that valley and you finally get up there, bro, you like, woo.
Oh,
This is what I've been missing.
Yeah, you never want to go down.
And so when them people you talked about your brother, I've got siblings who battle similar things, man. And I had an older brother who passed a couple years ago who told me when he saw me in a car that I bought that wasn't even, it was a used car that had Purdue University down the side, but like they didn't take the adhesive off. Like it was a car at Purdue.
Yeah.
They didn't take the adhesive off, so I bought it. And he was like, "Oh man, this car's nice, man. You know you my hero." I'm like, because I bought a car that's got over 100,000 miles on it and got Purdue University still on it.
Yeah.
Well, man, you just doing good. And I'm not doing I'm not doing as I want to, but you will always be my role model.
I have people say all the time, like, bro, you doing it. Like it is, and it's literally like, to me, I have not even, like, I just now, this year, rather than last year, start reading. Like that's been something I just, God, I really get headaches. Like I'll be like, all right, bro, that's enough. I get paid. But I start trying to apply myself. So when people say like, man, bro, you doing it. Like, hey, you killing the community right now. Not literally, but like, but you're doing, like, you're killing in the community, bro. Like, you're doing an awesome job. Like, keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, cool, appreciate you.
Thank you.
But then when I go home, that's what motivates me more. Like, bro, let me get back into this book. Because now there's people that I don't even know walking to me, Jerome, what's up, man? We're looking up to you, man.
Right.
And then I hear from my parents are like, we be at Walmart, we'll be here. People are like, man, your son, we're really looking up to him, and he's doing this. These people 40, 50, 60 years old. I'm like, okay. Like I can't not succeed.
So we talked about going down that path of people who haven't done it, who've done it, but then you get those people who've witnessed those people who haven't went down those paths and whether they got out of that path or not. So I can't talk about role models without talking about my wife. Because last my wife's from New Jersey. If you've ever been to New Jersey, I hate it. I just don't like it. Like, it's just not a fun space for me in certain areas. Okay, it's just a long drive to get there. So my wife knows how I feel about it. It's just a long drive to get there. Anyway, Pennsylvania's a big state.
Yeah.
My wife grew up in New Jersey, man, and New Jersey's rough. New Jersey's just rough. Like it takes a special person, just grit to make it in that state. And she grew up in New Jersey, and she grew up, around some stuff. And I told her last year when we was on vacation, we was at the beach, we was at like a restaurant that's on the boardwalk right there. And I had to tell her, man, like I can't believe that everything that you grew up around, everything that you grew up in, that you've developed the way you are. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, you're the best mother I could ever ask for my kids. It's just what it is, man. Like with me doing social work, I worked evenings and weekends for 6 years straight. 6 weeks. My wife was carrying. I mean, not talking about carrying it like struggling. My wife was backpacking my family on her back, like, and I'm trying to play catch up for 6 years. If it wasn't for her, man. But I told her I can't ask for a better mother. I can't, because you talk about that single. She wasn't a single mom. In the house, pretty much she was, because she was doing the discipline and the positive reinforcement, because I was out there helping somebody else's kid. It was her, man, and she never went down that path. But because, like you talked about, you know, you didn't have to. You didn't have to. I didn't have to. But for everything she went through and what she does, man, like, I can't believe it. And I always have to give her affirmation for it. That's something she does better than me, I'll just say, period. Oh, yeah. She's hands down probably a better parent than I am. It's just what it is. It's your fault, man. We're here for you. It hurts.
Oh, well, yeah, my wife knows she's a better parent than me. I'm the disciplinary. She does everything else. And that's just what it is.
It's that look.
Yeah, she has the nurturing, she has the patience. I have zero, and it is what it is. Yin and yang. But no, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap it up. Seth, we want to say thank you for coming to
I appreciate
your second Young Men's Buzz Hour, man.
This is my second.
You're almost a regular. One more.
I want to get a T-shirt.
One more time.
One more time.
You might have to talk to the man behind the camera. He been asleep, but he got up, got some tea. He thought he didn't see him.
But they're washing the face.
I know he did. Sprinkle water. Everybody would like to fall asleep.
I appreciate it. I really enjoy it. You know, and it's not nothing trying to pat myself on the back. It's just I just enjoy working with kids, man.
Oh, you got to, man. Oh, that's what I wanted to touch on. Before we get off here, you touched on getting through things, and some people have to go through certain things in order to, I guess, reach their potential, whatever it is you touched on, how they kind of went through certain things. Yeah. And not really just reach their potential, but because of what she went through, right? Certain things that we didn't have to go through, and she still came out clearly great, right? Yeah. So I look at, like, there's a guy I know, Brian Kendrick. I don't know if you know him. This guy I work with.
Oh, yeah.
Recovery coach, man.
Yes, man.
I look at, that's why I'm on the same page as you as far as drugs. Can't stand. Like, just, come on. It's ruining lives, and it's doing it in Columbus at an accelerated rate. But when I look at, and I talk to him often, I look at, like, his life and the people that he touches, like when it comes to drug addiction, the stuff that these addicts actually go through. Yeah. And not only go through, but recover and come out on the other side even better. And it's nothing, and he'll tell me, he's like, this is what people don't understand about addiction is, the addiction is, it never leaves. It's a battle that you fight for the rest of your life. Yeah. You just become strong enough to cope with it. Yeah. So, like, when I talk to him, he's like, I battle daily with this. Yeah. He's like, and I will for the rest of my life. I have an addictive personality. Like, I just had to find something else to take that void. So, like you said, man, and he's you talking about a role model. That man is changing lives daily. Right. And he's not only changing lives, but he's saving them. Because literally, for the people that he posts, and I love watching this stuff on Facebook, so hopefully I'm going to share it and hopefully you can see it. He'll post stories all day about people 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years sober. Right. I saw a guy the other day at Walmart, I'm not going to say his name, but I know he had been out there. He told me that, he's like, man, he could just tell he got the size. Almost how he been. He's like, man, I've been good, man. Like, I got into the gym, take care of my son. I'm 3 years clean next week. Like, I'll never go back. But there's a time where I never saw I could do this. But now when you look at it, because we're talking about role models, like you saw the way, and it's funny because his son, where I see his son at? I think he was at a park playing basketball. And his son was like, oh yeah, I can still like, and he looked at me and started talking about basketball. He's like, yeah, my dad always takes me to the park. I love my dad. But you can see when he said that, he's like, yeah. But it's like, knowing what he went through to get through that. Some people got to go through a lot. Some people got to go through hell to get to heaven. So, it is what it is. Well, look, Seth, we're going to wrap it up. Lady Lisa gave me a closing statement. Kind of, you know how if you're on the news and like you have a script and then somebody comes right for a script. Sir, we have one more thing you need to add. Breaking news. Da-da-da. But no, top team. But no, so before we end, she did have a closing statement. And then I'm going to throw a wrench in, just like they do. We're going to have Pastor Wood come and dismiss us in prayer.
Ooh, I like that.
Because he'll be awake to do that.
Laughing behind the camera.
He's done a great job, though. We appreciate him.
Yeah.
So here's the closing statement. Jesus Christ is the best role model we could all ever choose because he is perfect in every way. He is the perfect role model because of his love for each and every one of us. And that's a fact. That is a fact. I touched on it earlier. For those who do not have a role model in home, whether it's you may not have the parent that is there. You may not have the coach. You may not have that. But it doesn't matter where you're at because God is omnipresent, which means omnipresent. Watch out.
Well, hey, so here we
He's
go.
there with you always, even until the end of time. Watch out.
What?
With that, I'll stop.
Drop that tonight.
You better play the organ. Watch out. Shut up. What up?
Y'all been praying?
Huh? So come on, elder pastor, deacon, reverend, singer, songwriter.
Hey, hold on, I'm gonna interrupt. And it's not even my page to interrupt. If you've never heard Father Wood, I call him Father because he's like pops to me. If you've never heard this man sing, hey, I was at a funeral. I'm telling you. I thought I was at a revival, man. I was about to get up, and it was a funeral, bro. I love this man. I heard this man sing a while ago, almost 10 years ago, and you need to come to church and listen to him sing.
Yeah, I taught him well.
Stop.
Stop.
I'm going to call you on that.
Taught him well. Pastor.
Not at all.
And this time, pastor. Pastor, if you would like to come dismiss us in prayer, you just walk right on this way, Dad. It's okay. We're live. They know you're coming. Here he is. Uh-oh. Come on. Go ahead.
Who you get in?
Yes, sir. Oh, you ain't got to go. Oh.
Get back down.
Right there is good.
These fine young men, I'm seriously, I'm so appreciative of the things they've said and they share with you out of their heart, and I'm just so thankful for them, and they've been good. I'm trying to help them to shrink their heads are pretty big right now.
I got a watermelon head. This is my 6-year-old told me.
We asked him to pray. He still hasn't started to pray. So how could you invite a pastor? So if I said, Dad, would you like to come pray? He wouldn't give him his. But go ahead. Combs his hair backwards. Go ahead. Love it.
Father, we thank you for this session that these young men shared out of their heart. Thank you, God, for these men that are fathers themselves, and they're raising their children up in an atmosphere that is so conducive to a better life for their children. Pray, God, that you would bless those that are tuned in, these young men and families, oh God, that's all over this city and other parts of this state and even this world. Give a shout out to my brother Gerald and so many that have just tuned in to hear these young men. I pray, God, that you would bless every family, and even those families that are struggling. Perhaps you are one that doesn't have a father because of, could be behind prison bars. Your father could not even be in your life because of death. I want you to know that there is someone there's a father that yet loves you, and his name is Jesus. And I believe even where you are, I pray that God would send you a mentor in your city. Could be an uncle, could be a coach, could be a pastor, could be even one of your brother. I pray, God, that you would send them a mentor that would encourage them. And you shall live and not die. And you're going to become something of wholesome, and you're going to make something great out of your life. We give you glory and honor and praise. We thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
God bless you.
We're going to help him up now.
Yeah.
Oh, look at him. He said, I don't need y'all help.
Big Jim.
Sound easy.
Woo!
Easy. Easy. 67.
Watch out.
But yeah, for everybody on Facebook Live, once again, we appreciate you guys. We will be back again next month. It'll be me, somebody else, not Seth. Maybe Seth. We might bring Seth back. Only thing we won't do, we may not have Pastor pray because Pastor started talking. Prayer was a little bit long-winded. He started talking about our heads.
Man.
I thought
I gotta get a haircut and make sure.
my head was nice.
I get told I've always had a big head.
My head's big.
Yeah,
Where's
but
my big head
physically,
from?
I don't.
Have you seen that pastor's head?
He got some nice hair.
He got nice hair. I didn't get that either. He didn't give me the height. He gave me the head. He gave me singing ability too. While you hating on me,
Nice.
I'm telling y'all, right?
You
I
ain't that though.
I'm telling.
I ain't saying you bad,
I'll
but
tell
you definitely ain't
Don't
pop.
let the anointing fall.
What?
Anyway, so we appreciate everybody that tuned in. We'll be back here again next month, maybe in this living room, maybe outside. Either way, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we can't wait to see you guys next month. Peace.